All right, the camera is on. Everybody settle down. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, Pear Deck code is on the board. I see a lot of you guys are in. No moving. Brianna, please take your seat. Brianna, please take your seat. And do now, in Pear Deck, take 2 minutes to yourself. And I won't even read it out loud. I want you to choose a prompt to respond to. Annotate the learning objective or put it into your own words. Take 2 minutes, look at the objective, and annotate it or put it in your own words. Thank you very much. Tiana, please. Thank you. Yes, Christian. The code, WNRWPL. It's right on the top right corner. Bracy, you know where your seat is. Thank you very much. What's up? Okay, that's fine. Both Briannas, though, I do need you to take your seats. Andrews, come on. Brianna, please. Yeah, you can take your seats. Andrews, come on. No, just stay where you are. No problem. All right, does anybody want to share what they have so far? Or do you guys need more time? Do now is on the board. Choose a prompt to respond to. You're either annotating the learning objective or putting the learning objective in your own words. We're in social studies right now.
Where's Mr. Running?
Yes, we are not in the LA. We are in social studies right now.
Where's Mr. McEnroe?
Mr. McEnroe is absent today. He was not feeling well. Guys, what is going on?
Yo, that's Tyler's best friend. No.
He has COVID?
No, he doesn't have COVID. All right, see, guys, we got a real serious topic to get to today. Come on. Take it a little bit serious. Come on. We're hoping Mr. McEnroe is back for tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. Why?
Because they're lovers.
Okay, fine.
No, don't.
Okay, Emeka, can you get us started, please? Do you need another minute? Okay, 8 and after, thank you. Emeka, all right. Emeka, which prompt are you responding to? Danny, please. All right, so what did you annotate? Oh, let me read the objective first. All right, so our objective is that today you guys can analyze primary and secondary sources to understand the start of the institution of slavery in what would become the USA. So, Emeka, how did you annotate this? And what did you underline? Excellent. So what is a primary source exactly?
It's like one of the best resources, the one you would rather use.
Okay, it is a very good source. But what exactly, if I, Mariah, keep it going.
Oh, like
And then
the first and then the primary source is basically the first source.
I think we're confusing it with things. Brianna, what do you think a primary source is? A resource that what? If I ask you for a primary source from ancient Egypt, what exactly might that type of primary source be?
It's like from somebody some writing.
Ah, there we go. Like the hieroglyphics, the writing. Primary sources are sources from the time you're talking about. So again, like hieroglyphics from ancient Egypt. We'll be talking about slavery today. We're going to be looking at notes from people who were enslaved. Secondary sources. Aiden, what's a secondary source?
A source that's not in the Bible that it was told to somebody.
Yes. So if we were to and we're going to be watching a YouTube video later about life on slave ships, and that would be considered a secondary source. So who put this subjective into their own words? Did anyone do that? Aiden, what did you do? I saw you also had your hand
I
up.
did annotate.
Okay, did you annotate anything different?
Oh yes, I also annotated. Institutional slavery and what becomes the United States of America.
Why do you underline that?
So because that's where slavery happened in the United States of America.
And what do you think they mean by the institution of slavery?
Oh, that it was like a business where people sold slaves.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about how it became like a foundational, honestly, a foundational, like sort of like a business or just a big part of what becomes America. All right, thank you very much.
Is this like early slave or like
Early what?
slavery?
Yeah, this is like with the very beginning of it coming to America. I mean, there were instances of slavery before, but not so much in America. After Christopher Columbus, well, let's review some prior knowledge. Christopher Columbus, he enslaved the indigenous people of America. Who are the indigenous people? Native Americans, exactly. So he did, we know, murder, he enslaved them. Yeah. Tremendous outbreak of European disease as well, forced overwork and violence from Europeans, leading to widespread death and disease. I've mentioned this before, but about 90%, at the time, Christopher Columbus and the colonizers, they murdered about 90% of the Native American population, having devastating effects that still felt today. But,
extinct.
yeah.
That's why there's like you don't really hear.
They don't really
That's
like
sad.
So yeah, they decimated this population of, guys, come on, of the indigenous people of America through time. These populations have somewhat rebounded, meaning they've bounced back. And today there are millions of indigenous people living in the United States. Sometimes if you go take those ancestry type tests, you'll see that you yourself might have a small, little indigenous part of you. Brianna, I saw your hand up before. Did you have a question or anything? Guys, especially right now, keep the racial comments to yourself. Come on. Okay, all right, come on. Okay, let's keep it going. So, who wants to read the first prompt on the board? Someone besides Aiden. Let's get someone else. Thank you.
In their quest for unfit labor, Europeans turned to the west coast of Africa and brought African people against their will to the Americas to provide labor to the Europeans.
Thank you. Do you want to read the next one as well?
By the
And then Zaina.
it is estimated that around 275,000 Africans, free and enslaved, were in parts of Central America, South America, and the Caribbean.
And Zaina, final point.
The first Africans to live in what would eventually become the United States were brought to the Virginia colony in the year 1619.
All right, thank you very much. So after the settlers come and colonize what becomes Virginia and America, that is when after that we start to see the arrival of slaves in the United States. And who wants to read our learning goal A? Aiden, go for it.
Analyze and understand first and secondary sources about slavery in the United States.
And Chaslin, can you read B?
To understand the start of the institution of slavery and what becomes the United States of America.
All right, so these are going to be our goals pretty much for the next week. We're going to be analyzing sources, looking at them, trying to really understand how things like how slavery began in America. All right, so here is what is called the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage is a name for the voyage that millions of enslaved Africans were forced to take against their will from Africa to the Americas, also called the Triangular Trade. As you can see, who knows what this continent is here? What continent am I pointing to? Yes, it is the United States. So here we have sugar going to the States, livestock, grain. Does anyone know what livestock is?
Animals.
Yeah, animals, goats, cows, all that. Then you have raw goods going all the way to Europe. What's going on? I'm very confused. What's... You guys can't take this seriously?
No, we're listening. No, we're listening. We're so serious.
Do I gotta move some seats?
No.
Alright, so let's try this again. Kiana, put the phone away, thank you. Okay. Okay, so alright, I'm done talking. Someone point out what resources do we see being shipped over on the Triangle Trade? Aiden, start us off, and then Sarah.
All goods and sugar, molasses, rum.
Alright. Sarah, what do you notice? Yes. Sarah, can you go for it? I cannot hear Sarah. Thank you. Go again.
They're shipping their animals and grains to the other islands.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So as I was saying, we have the United States. They're trading and giving raw goods to Europe. Europe sending textiles to Africa, and we have Americans enslaving the Africans, bringing them over the Middle Passage into America. So it's a whole triangle. We'll be referring to this definitely a lot more later in the unit. What time is it? Someone give me a time check. 10:08. All right. Okay. So I'm going to put on a video. We're just going to watch it one time, and I want you guys to take notice. I want you to take a few notes. What do you notice about life on the slave ship or London, turn around, or life in the Middle Passage? And what do you wonder about it? If you have any questions, I know this can get very heavy, so if you do want to keep these questions to yourself, that's totally fine. But yes, Kiana. You did this video? Okay, got it. All right, guys. Thumbs up if you're ready. Yeah, Brianna, what's up? I'm sorry. What? Okay. What am I doing with this? All right, can we take this seriously? I'm very annoyed with you guys right now. Thumbs up if you're ready to watch the video. Thank you, guys. All right, let's get ready to take notes, please.
From about 1525 to 1866, 12.5 million Africans were taken from their homeland and forcibly transported across the Atlantic, a journey that approximately 2 million of them would not survive. By the turn of the 18th century, European merchants were building vessels capable of transporting hundreds of enslaved people per journey. These ships had extra portholes for ventilation, weapons mounted on deck in case of rebellion, and additional compartments added below deck to take on more human cargo. Before boarding the ships at African port cities, enslaved people were stripped of their clothing and remaining possessions and had their heads forcibly shaved. During boarding, which could take weeks or even months, enslaved people lived on the deck of the ship in a temporary wooden house constructed by the crew. The crew also installed netting around the deck of the ship, designed to catch those enslaved who might opt for death over forced servitude. Once moved below deck, enslaved people would find themselves stuffed into compartments with ceilings as low as 4.5 feet, where they would spend most of their voyage. They were segregated by gender and age. Adult men were kept separately and shackled in pairs. Women usually left unchained in their designated compartment, and children often free to move about the ship. There were no sanitary facilities of any kind. Enslaved people were forced to relieve themselves where they sat, creating hellish conditions when combined with the heat and lack of ventilation below deck. Disease was rampant. Dysentery, malaria, yellow fever, smallpox, measles, and influenza ravaged the enslaved and crew members alike.
Thank you.
The enslaved people generally spent about 8 hours a day above deck, but were still separated by gender, with a barricado, a reinforced wall that could be used to protect crew members in case of a revolt. Enslaved people were also subject to forced exercise, which sometimes included dance and song for the entertainment of the crew. Enslaved captives deemed disobedient were tortured and beaten, usually whipped with the especially cruel cat-o'-nine-tails, a tool designed to inflict maximum pain. Enslaved people who refused to eat their typical meal of rice and beans were forced to do so, sometimes with a speculum oris, a medieval tool used to force open a person's mouth. Women, while usually left unshackled, were raped and sexually abused by members of the crew, sometimes arriving in the New World, carrying the children of their attackers. But it was the women, using their minuscule freedoms, who would often coordinate mutinies against their captors. But these rebellions were rarely successful. The true extent of the horrors of the Middle Passage came to light in a 1783 court trial over the slave ship Zong. The Zong left present-day Ghana in August of 1781, with 442 enslaved on board. After a 2-month journey riddled with navigation errors, 62 enslaved people and 7 crew members had perished without reaching their destination. Disease was spreading throughout the ship, and fresh water was running dangerously low. Captain Luke Collingwood was afraid of the financial cost of more deaths. Enslaved people that died of disease were not covered by the ship's insurance, but the enslaved who drowned were. Collingwood ordered approximately 130 enslaved people thrown overboard. He claimed it was necessary to do so to halt the spread of disease. At the trial between the Zong's owners and their insurance company, the owners argued that because it was legal to kill sick animals for the health of a ship, it was legal to treat enslaved people the same. The court agreed with the ship's owners, but the trial itself exposed the horrors aboard the Zong, and its story was republished by British abolitionists with the name of the ship redacted, meant to show that this tragedy could happen on any ship transporting enslaved people across the Middle Passage. 24 years after the Zong trial, the international slave trade was outlawed in both Great Britain and the United States. It would take England an additional 26 years, and the US another 58 years, plus a civil war, before the practice of slavery was officially abolished.
All right, do you guys want a minute to finish notes, or are you ready to discuss? It's fine. Okay, so, yeah, I saw your hands up. You learned about this? Nice. All right, calm down. What, did anyone have any noticings they would like to point out? Yes, Sarah.
Hundreds of enslaved people would be thrown off the ships just because it was seems like they were animals.
Aiden?
They were tortured and some of them would rather just kill themselves instead of being forced to be slaves.
Yes.
They were getting beaten, called animals.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah, people were thrown over. Zayna, did you want to?
They were forced to relieve themselves.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So what this setting was, they described it as hellish. I thought that was an accurate description. Anyone else have any noticings they want to share, Brianna? What makes you say that?
also they got raped.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm sorry for, this is a very sensitive topic. I should have let you guys know that was going to be coming up, but that is the harsh reality, and we won't get into it more, but as you guys get into high school and further in education, we'll learn about the devastating effects of that, and yeah. Chaslin? Yes, let's go. If you have any wonderings that you want to share, go for it. Chaslin, yes.
Why did they not have shirts?
Because they were trying to create the worst.
Women's wearing.
They were trying to create unlivable conditions. They were trying to make things as, horrific as possible.
How did they use the bathroom?
Zayna, what did you say before?
They were forced to relieve themselves where they sat.
Chaslin, do you have a... Wait, guys, let's listen, please. These are good questions. Jocelyn.
Why did the children get to walk around freely when the adults have to stay inside like
Right, they're hot sauce.
Yeah, still hot.
I don't have the answer to that. It's a very good question. Wait, alright, I got one more question before we move on. Did you guys notice what did they do with the men, women, children? Why do you think they did that?
Because maybe it's like,
Wait, hold one at a time, London.
maybe because it's like their families, like they can probably
Help each other.
yeah.
Very good, Aiden.
So they don't end up dating each other?
Very good. Anyone else have any ideas about that?
They don't breathe.
So that's also a good, yeah. Honestly, it all goes into just keep making the conditions as torturous as possible. And I do apologize if this is very sensitive for anyone. Danny, what's up? Stop it. Yeah, all of this was forced, not an option. Wait, okay, and another question. How do you think that one person or like maybe 3 people would be able to force like 30 people onto like a ship and things like that? Exactly, just like how it was like European colonists versus indigenous, the technology, the weapons was not the same. It was very one-sided, and that's how they were able to control so many people. All right, let's move on.
From about 1525 to 18...
Okay, so in a minute, you guys are going to be moving on to the independent activity where you'll be working individually or with the one person next to you, and you'll be breaking down a primary source. So let's do one together. Noah, read the instructions out loud, the directions.
Analyze the following document. Make a comment about what you see, what you think, or questions, comments, and reactions that you have.
All right, so in Pear Deck, any comments, questions, reactions that you have to this, you can write it down after we read. So this is the excerpt from the life of Olaudah Equiano, written in 1798. And this person was kidnapped at 11 and sold into slavery. Here is part of his story. Does someone with a loud voice want to read this out loud?
No, don't do me like that.
All right, Dana, go for it.
Olaudah Equiano was kidnapped at 11 and sold into slavery. Here's the part of the story. Yet at the worst time of the middle passage came to the slaves when the ship was met with periods of bad weather. During storms, the blacks were forced to remain below decks all day and night. The holds were dark, icky, slimy, and they stank of death. The 'tween decks were often full of not only slaves, both living and dead, but also with blood, vomit, urine, and human waste. Also during periods of inclement weather, the slaves were not fed as usual. They were forced to scrounge for small crumbs and pieces of spoiled food and drink from stagnant puddles of extremely impure water.
All right, quietly to yourself, take 2 minutes and write down any questions, comments, or reactions about this excerpt. Thank you, Zaina. London, come on. Brianna, come on.
What we guys?
Respond to the question. Yes. You are responding to the excerpt that Zaina read out loud, so give me a comment, question, or concern that you have. Yes, Jocelyn. What's up? The middle passage is that route that we went over, where there's like the triangle route, the route, like that the slave ships were going on. Brianna, get your thoughts together. Come on. Run to the paradigm. I'm going to ask Mariah Charles to share her answer. And what, in a minute. Did I get your name wrong? I'm sorry, Mariah Prince. I have the other Mariah. I'm sorry, got a million students. So, Mariah, Thank you very much. If you can share in a minute. Did you want to share also? Okay.
You know Lachey is the author.
The what?
Lachey is the author.
Lachey is the author?
No, she's out. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's fine. I know she's taking the test. Okay, so Mariah and then Sheree, were you sharing also? Yes, no? Aiden, I guess we do my sharing after? Thank you very much. Alright, Mariah, you ready? Okay, Aiden, start us off. Mariah, please gather your thoughts so you can share. Wait, hold on. Alright. Aiden, what was your response to this?
Well, it was a comment on, it said, when they were bad brother, they cannot get treated, so they had to scam it. And in between that, there must be dead or alive people, or there's a lot of waste.
Thank you for sharing. And are you ready? Alright, thank you very much. And then Zane, I see your hand up too.
My reactions to the excerpt is
Is
that.
that our...
My
Okay,
reactions
go on.
to the excerpt is that he was a slave and even though he was only like 11 years old, and slaves can become really young at a young age, which is really hard to like the range of the world. And then like when they graduate, he doesn't have a good accurate.
Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out. He was only 11 years old and this was his life. Zaina, did you want to share?
I said that they had to watch for dirty water or food and crumbs.
They had to what for dirty water?
They had to watch for dirty water, small crumbs, and boiled food.
Well, and what does all this say about the setting of the ships? Unsanitary, dehumanizing, terrible conditions. Alright, so now I'm going to put this on student paced mode. So you guys can choose, so your independent activity. With the person next to you or independently, choose one of the sources in the next slides. Analyze and write down your questions, comments, and reactions. You can work with the person next to you. You can work by yourself. Everyone understand the assignment? Alright, we'll share in the last 5 minutes. Thank you very much. What's up, Brianna? Work by yourself, bro. What's up?